NBA's golden boy just got hit with the biggest accusation of his career. What if I told you that the most celebrated young superstar in basketball is suddenly being called a cheater? Not a role player, not a veteran known for pushing the limits, not a forgotten bench guy trying to survive in the league. We're talking about Victor Wembanyama, the player many believe is destined to become the next face of the NBA. The player who has been compared to legends before even reaching his prime. The player who transformed the San Antonio Spurs from a rebuilding franchise into a championship contender almost overnight. And now, his name is being attached to one of the most explosive words in sports: cheating. Over the last year, social media has turned into a battlefield. Every highlight, every controversial moment, every questionable call, every emotional reaction has been dissected, frame by frame, by millions of fans around the world. Some believe Wembanyama is simply too smart for everyone else. Others believe he's been getting away with things that would destroy another player's reputation. And the more successful he becomes, the louder those accusations get. It started with a seemingly harmless all-star event. Then came a playoff incident that shocked the basketball world. Then came accusations involving dirty plays. Then came claims that the referees were protecting him. Then came whispers that the entire Spurs organization was benefiting from special treatment. Suddenly, a player once viewed as basketball's future found himself standing at the center of one of the most polarizing debates in the entire sport. Here's what makes this story so fascinating. The people defending Wembanyama aren't crazy. The people attacking Wembanyama aren't crazy either. Both sides believe they have evidence. Both sides believe the truth is obvious. And that's exactly why this controversy has exploded into something much bigger than a single player. Because this isn't just about Victor Wembanyama anymore. It's about how modern sports work. It's about how one viral clip can permanently change public perception. It's about how social media can transform a moment into a narrative. And it's about whether the NBA's brightest young star is being unfairly targeted, or whether fans are finally noticing something that's been hiding in plain sight. Over the next few chapters, we're going to break down every major accusation, every controversial moment, every reaction from players, coaches, analysts, and fans. We'll look at what actually happened. We'll separate facts from rumors. And we'll uncover how Victor Wembanyama went from basketball's most beloved young superstar to one of the most debated figures in the entire league. Because by the end of this story, you may look at Wembanyama very differently than you do right now. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city, state, or country in the comments below. And here's the question of the day. If you think Wembanyama is simply a basketball genius being misunderstood, comment 1. If you think some of the criticism against him is justified, comment 2. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive into the controversy that has the entire NBA talking. The all-star moment that turned genius into cheating. The controversy did not begin in a dark locker room or a playoff war. It began under bright lights, in front of laughing fans, during what was supposed to be one of the most harmless events on NBA All-Star Weekend, the Skills Challenge. Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul stepped onto the floor representing the San Antonio Spurs. On paper, it looked fun. A young, alien-like superstar paired with one of the smartest point guards basketball has ever seen. But within minutes, that fun turned into one of the strangest scandals of the year. The rules were simple enough. Players had to move through a timed course with passing, dribbling, and shooting stations. At each shooting spot, they could move on after making the shot or after 3 valid attempts. And that phrase became everything. 3 valid attempts. Wembanyama looked at the rule and saw an opening. Instead of taking normal shots, he quickly tossed the balls toward the basket, barely treating them like real attempts, then moved on. Chris Paul followed the same idea. The result was shocking. Team Spurs finished with an insanely fast time. For a second, it looked like they had outsmarted the entire event. Then the crowd realized what had happened. The boos started. Officials reviewed the sequence. Fans waited. Commentators tried to understand if this was genius, comedy, or disrespect. Then the decision came. Wembanyama and Chris Paul were disqualified. The NBA ruled that those were not real shooting attempts. And just like that, what could have been a funny all-star clip became the first major stain on Wembanyama's public image. The internet exploded. Some fans called it brilliant. They said Wembanyama had simply read the rules better than everyone else. To them, this was not cheating. This was basketball intelligence. This was gamesmanship. This was exactly what elite competitors do. Find the edge. Use the edge. But another group saw something completely different. They saw arrogance. They saw disrespect. They saw a superstar treating the event like a joke while fans had paid to watch a real competition. And once the word cheating entered the conversation, it never left. That was the dangerous part. Because in sports, labels stick. One clip became one headline. One headline became one debate. One debate became a permanent part of his reputation. Suddenly, Wembanyama was not just the young genius from France anymore. He was the player who hacked the skills challenge, the player who bent the rules, the player who thought he was smarter than the system, and whether that was fair or not, the damage had begun. How one viral clip became a permanent stain. The wildest part of the Wembanyama controversy is that the skills challenge moment should have disappeared in a few days. It was All-Star Weekend. It was entertainment. It was not the NBA Finals. It was not a playoff elimination game. It was not a real regular season battle with standings on the line. But social media does not care about context. Social media cares about emotion. And that clip had everything the algorithm loves. A superstar, a loophole, a crowd booing, a disqualification, a debate with no clean answer. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. On X, fans argued over whether Wembanyama had exposed a badly written rule or embarrassed himself on national television. On Reddit, long threads broke down the meaning of valid attempt like it was a legal trial. On TikTok and Instagram, short edits made the whole thing look even worse, cutting out context and leaving only the awkward tosses, the boos, and the disqualification. That is how a narrative is born. Not because everyone agrees, but because everyone reacts. Supporters kept sharing the clip to defend him. Critics kept sharing the clip to attack him. Neutral fans kept sharing it because it was funny. And every share pushed the story further. By the next morning, Wembanyama's name was tied to the word cheating in a way that felt impossible to erase. That matters because perception changes how people watch you. Before that moment, if Wembanyama blocked a shot from an impossible angle, fans called him a unicorn. After that moment, some people started saying, "This does not look fair." Before that moment, if he used his size and length to dominate, it was greatness. After that moment, his dominance became suspicious to people who already wanted a reason to doubt him. That is the modern NBA. Your reputation is not only built by what you do, it is built by how millions of strangers edit, caption, remix, and repeat what you do. And Wembanyama became trapped inside that machine. Even worse, the controversy gave his critics a template. If he played smart, they called it cheating. If he got a favorable whistle, they called it protection. If he showed emotion, they called it fake. If he played physical, they called it dirty. The skills challenge did not prove Wembanyama was a villain, but it gave the internet permission to start looking for one. And once fans start searching for a darker side, every little moment becomes evidence. That is exactly what happened next. The ejection that changed everything. For months, the Wembanyama cheating talk lived mostly online. It was memes. It was debate shows. It was fan arguments. It was people turning one all-star loophole into a personality trait. But then came the moment that made the accusations feel real to millions of viewers. A playoff game. A hostile arena. A physical battle, and the first ejection of Victor Wembanyama's NBA career. The Spurs were facing the Minnesota Timberwolves in a brutal Western Conference playoff matchup. Every possession felt heavy, every rebound looked like a fight. Wembanyama was being grabbed, bumped, doubled, and tested on nearly every trip down the floor. Then, in the second quarter, everything exploded. The Spurs missed a shot. Wembanyama crashed the glass. Naz Reid and another defender closed in. Arms tangled. Bodies collided. Wembanyama secured the ball, turned through contact, and swung his arm as he tried to create space. The elbow connected high. Naz Reid went down. The arena erupted. At first, it looked like a hard playoff foul. Then officials went to review. The longer the replay played on the screen, the louder the building became. Fans started chanting for him to be thrown out, and then the call came. Flagrant 2, automatic ejection. Just like that, the Spurs' young franchise star was gone before halftime. The image was stunning. Wembanyama, the player marketed as the future of the league, walking off the floor while an entire arena screamed at him. He looked confused, almost shocked, as if he did not fully understand how quickly the night had turned against him. For his defenders, this was a young player caught in a physical playoff moment. For his critics, this was the clip they had been waiting for. Now, they could say the pattern was obvious. The skills challenge showed he bent rules. The ejection showed he crossed line. The no suspension decision later showed the league protected him. That was the argument, and it spread fast. Clips of the elbow flooded social media. Some fans slowed it down to make it look intentional. Others showed the contact before the swing to argue he had been fouled first. Analysts debated whether the motion was reckless or malicious. But online, nuance rarely wins. The phrase dirty play started following his name, and that was a dangerous shift. Because cheating sounds like intelligence gone too far. Dirty play sounds like character. Suddenly, Wembanyama was not just accused of being clever with rules. He was being accused of losing control. And in the NBA playoffs, perception can become heavier than reality. Why the NBA's decision made fans even angrier. After the ejection, Everyone waited for the league's response. Would Victor Wembanyama be suspended? Would he be fined heavily? Would the NBA send a message that even its brightest young star could not cross the line? The answer came quickly. No suspension. No major extra punishment. The flagrant 2 stood, but Wembanyama was cleared to play the next game. And that decision poured gasoline on the fire. To Spurs fans, it was simple. The play had already been punished, he was ejected, his team lost momentum, the league reviewed it and decided there was no need to go further. End of story. But to critics, it looked like special treatment. They asked one question over and over again. Would another player have gotten the same benefit? That question became the center of the storm. Because Wembanyama was not just another player. He was the NBA's future marketing dream. A 7'4" superstar with guard skills, international appeal, highlight machine defense, and the potential to carry the league for the next decade. So when he avoided a suspension, skeptics saw something bigger than one ruling. They saw protection. They saw favoritism. They saw the league quietly making sure its next global face stayed on the floor. Was that proven? No. But in the court of public opinion, proof is not always required. Sometimes timing is enough. And the timing was brutal. First came the skills challenge scandal. Then came the viral cheating label. Then came the playoff elbow. Then came the ejection. Then came no suspension. To the people already suspicious, it felt like the NBA was telling the world that Wembanyama operated under a different set of rules. That is when the conversation changed again. Fans were no longer only debating Wembanyama. They were debating the league itself. Were officials giving him softer treatment because of his star status? Were opponents allowed to be physical with him until he finally reacted? Was the NBA protecting him, targeting him, or simply trying to survive another messy playoff controversy? The truth is probably less dramatic than the internet wanted it to be. But drama does not need truth to grow. It only needs emotion, and this story had plenty. Wembanyama was becoming the perfect modern sports villain for people who wanted one. Too talented, too hyped, too protected, too different, too successful too quickly. At the same time, he was becoming a symbol for his supporters. A young star being punished by jealous fans because he was changing the game before their eyes. That divide made him impossible to ignore. And just when it seemed the controversy might calm down, the Spurs entered another playoff war, this time against Oklahoma City. And the accusations got even darker. The night the Spurs were accused of playing dirty, if the Naz Reid incident raised questions about Victor Wembanyama, the next controversy raised questions about the entire San Antonio Spurs organization. And this time, fans weren't just accusing a player, they were accusing a culture. The setting was perfect for chaos. Western Conference Final. San Antonio Spurs versus Oklahoma City Thunder. Two young teams, two rising superpower. One trip to the NBA Finals on the line. Every possession mattered. Every foul mattered. Every whistle mattered. And before long, every controversy mattered too. Game 5 became ground zero. The Thunder won a crucial battle, taking control of the series. But the final score wasn't what fans talked about after. Instead, social media became obsessed with something else. A short clip, a very short clip. Television cameras briefly showed Wembanyama speaking to a pair of Spurs big men while sitting on the bench. Nothing unusual. Players talk constantly during games. But seconds later, those same players entered the game and committed hard fouls against Thunder guard Jared McCain. The timing was explosive. Within minutes, clips were spreading across social media with captions that practically wrote themselves. Wemby ordered retaliation. Wemby sent un message. Wemby told them to go after McCain. The problem? Nobody knew what had actually been said. There was no audio, no evidence, no confirmation. Just a visual sequence that looked suspicious enough to fuel endless speculation. But in today's social media world, appearance often beats evidence. Millions of viewers watched the clip and filled in the blanks themselves. To critics, the story seemed obvious. The Spurs were frustrated. The game was slipping away. Wembanyama talked to teammates. Hard fouls followed. Case closed. To Spurs supporters, the accusations were ridiculous. Players communicate all game long. Coaches communicate all game long. Veterans communicate all game long. Without audio, everything else was pure imagination. Yet the controversy refused to die because it fit perfectly into the growing narrative. First came accusations of bending rule. Then came accusations of dirty play. Now came accusations of directing dirty play. Each controversy stacked on top of the last one. And each controversy made the next accusation easier for people to believe. The most dangerous thing about a reputation is that once it forms, every future event gets filtered through it. People don't see what happened. They see what they expect happened. And more fans than ever were beginning to expect the worst from Victor Wembanyama. The storm was only getting bigger because another target was about to enter the conversation: the referees. And when fans start questioning the officials, every game becomes a conspiracy theory waiting to happen. The referee conspiracy that divided the NBA, every major sports controversy eventually reaches the same destination: the officials. And that's exactly where this story went next. As the Spurs battled the Thunder, thousands of fans became convinced they weren't just playing against Oklahoma City. They were playing against the referees too. The complaints started small: a missed call here, a questionable whistle there, a challenge that wasn't recognized, a foul that seemed obvious but wasn't called. Individually, none of those moments felt massive. Together, they created something powerful: suspicion. One sequence became particularly controversial. Spurs coach Mitch Johnson clearly appeared to signal for a challenge after a ball went out of bounds. Fans believe replays showed the ball touched a Thunder player last, yet the officials allowed play to continue. Moments later, Johnson received a technical foul. Spurs fans exploded. Videos flooded social media. Slow motion breakdowns appeared everywhere. Frame by frame analysis filled timeline. And soon the conversation moved beyond basketball. The word rigged started appearing. That's when things became dangerous, because once fans believe a game is unfair, every whistle becomes evident. Every mistake becomes intentional. Every judgment call becomes corruption. Adding fuel to the fire was the presence of veteran referee Tony Brother. Few officials generate stronger reactions from NBA fans. The moment his name appeared, social media practically ignited. Old clips resurfaced. Past controversies resurfaced. Previous fan complaints resurfaced. Suddenly, years of frustration were being attached to one playoff series. Conspiracy theories multiplied. Some fans claimed the NBA wanted a specific finals matchup. Others claimed the league wanted to maximize rating. Others argued the Spurs were being punished. And still others believed the exact opposite, that the Spurs and Wembanyama were receiving favorable treatment. The irony was incredible. Both sides thought the NBA was helping the other side. That alone showed how divided basketball fans had become. What made the situation even more complicated was that players themselves started speaking publicly. Several Spurs players suggested they weren't receiving the same physical freedom as Oklahoma City. They argued Wembanyama was constantly grabbed, held, and bumped without receiving calls. Thunder supporters immediately fired back. They claimed Wembanyama already benefited from superstar treatment. The debate became endless. And through it all, Victor Wembanyama remained at the center. Every controversial whistle somehow found its way back to him. Every argument eventually included his name. The young superstar wasn't just playing basketball anymore. He had become the symbol of an entire league-wide debate. And while fans fought online, another reality was making these accusations even easier to believe. Because the NBA itself was already dealing with real scandals, real investigations, real integrity concern. And those scandals would make Wembanyama's controversy feel far more believable than it otherwise might have been. Why real NBA scandals made the Wembanyama story explode. Here's the part most people miss. The accusations surrounding Victor Wembanyama didn't happen in a vacuum. They happened during one of the most suspicious periods in recent NBA history. And that mattered, because public trust changes everything. If fans fully trust a league, strange moments get ignored. If fans don't trust a league, strange moments become scandals. The NBA entered this controversy carrying baggage, a lot of baggage. Recent years had seen major gambling investigations, major betting controversies, questions about integrity, questions about inside information, questions about whether players, coaches, and others could influence outcomes for financial gain. Those stories dominated headlines. Fans watched players get investigated. Fans watched careers collapse. Fans watched shocking allegations become reality. The lesson many people learned was simple: if impossible things can happen once, maybe they can happen again. That mindset completely changed how people viewed Wembanyama's situation. Normally, a controversial foul might remain a controversial foul. Normally, a referee mistake might remain a referee mistake. Normally, a viral clip might remain a viral clip, but now everything felt connected. Every strange event seemed like part of a larger puzzle. Every controversy felt like potential evidence. The internet became obsessed with connecting dots. Sometimes those dots connected logically, sometimes they didn't, but that hardly mattered, because speculation moves faster than fact, and speculation was everywhere. YouTube channels produce dramatic breakdowns. TikTok creators stitched together dozens of unrelated clips. Reddit users created massive theories. Twitter users debated every frame of footage. The result was astonishing. A player who had never been formally accused of cheating suddenly became one of the most controversial names in basketball. Not because of proven wrongdoing, but because the environment was perfect for suspicion, and while the internet was busy investigating him, Wembanyama kept doing something that made the accusations harder to explain. He kept winning. The deeper the Spurs advanced, the stronger he played, the more difficult it became for critics to explain away his success, because eventually every conspiracy theory faces the same problem: talent And Victor Wembanyama had more talent than almost anyone in the world. That reality was about to collide head-on with the controversy, creating the most fascinating chapter of the entire story. The superstar who kept winning through the noise. Most players would have cracked. Think about the pressure. Every game being analyzed, every mistake being replayed, every emotional reaction becoming a headline, every controversial moment becoming another accusation. For many young stars, that level of attention becomes overwhelming. But Victor Wembanyama kept moving forward, and that's what confused everyone. Because the controversy was supposed to slow him down, instead, he played some of the best basketball of his life. The Spurs kept advancing, the wins kept coming, the highlights kept arriving, and suddenly the conversation became more complicated. If Wembanyama was truly this villain critics described, why did so many teammates trust him? Why did coaches continue praising him? Why did opponents often speak respectfully about him? Why did his performance continue improving under extreme pressure? Those questions created cracks in the negative narrative. Then came one of the most emotional moments of his career. After helping the Spurs reach the NBA Finals, Wembanyama was seen celebrating with teammates, and he cried, not a little, real emotion, real relief, real joy. For many fans, the moment was beautiful. A two-year-old superstar reaching the biggest stage in basketball, a dream becoming reality, years of sacrifice finally paying off. But even that became controversial. Some critics claimed he was too emotional. Some former players questioned whether championship-level stars should react that way before actually winning the title. Others argued the exact opposite. They praised him for showing genuine emotion in an era where athletes are often criticized for appearing robotic. The debate became larger than basketball. It became a discussion about pressure, about masculinity, about vulnerability, about what fans expect from modern athletes. Wembanyama's response impressed many observers. He refused to apologize for caring. He refused to apologize for feeling. He refused to pretend he was unaffected. That authenticity changed how many people viewed him, because suddenly, behind all the accusations and debates, fans could see something else. A young man carrying extraordinary expectations. A player trying to navigate impossible levels of fame. A superstar learning under the brightest spotlight in sports. And that brings us to the final chapter. The chapter where we separate the controversy from the reality, the accusations from the fact, and the lessons every sports fan can learn from the Victor Wembanyama saga. The real lesson behind the Wembanyama controversy? By now, you've probably noticed something interesting about this entire story. For all the accusations, for all the headlines, for all the viral clips, for all the endless debates, nobody has produced the smoking gun. Nobody has uncovered definitive proof that Victor Wembanyama cheated his way to greatness. And that's what makes this story so fascinating. Because the real controversy was never just about what happened. It was about what people believed happened. Think about the journey. A skills challenge loophole became a cheating narrative. A playoff ejection became a character judgment. A referee controversy became a conspiracy theory. A conversation on the bench became evidence of secret instructions. A missed media session became proof of special treatment. And emotional tears became another reason for critics to attack. Each individual moment was small, but together, they created something enormous. A public image battle. And in today's sports world, image battles can become just as important as the games themselves. The truth is that Victor Wembanyama represents something rare. He's not just a basketball player. He's a phenomenon. Players like that always attract extreme reactions. When Michael Jordan dominated, people searched for reasons to criticize him. When LeBron James became the face of the league, people spent decades questioning him. When Stephen Curry changed basketball, critics claimed the style would never win championships. Every generation creates a superstar, and every superstar creates resistance, because greatness makes people uncomfortable, especially when it arrives earlier than expected. What we witnessed throughout this story is a perfect example of how modern sports culture works. A clip gets posted, a narrative gets created. The narrative spreads faster than the facts. People choose sides, algorithms reward outrage. And before long, the story becomes bigger than reality itself. That doesn't mean criticism should disappear. Far from it. Athletes should be held accountable. Rules should matter. Fair competition should matter. Sportsmanship should matter. Those principles are essential for every league, every team, and every player. But there's another lesson here too. A lesson about perspective. Not every controversy is a scandal. Not every accusation is proof. Not every viral clip tells the entire story. And not every athlete deserves to be defined by their worst moment. Whether you love Victor Wembanyama or can't stand him, one thing is impossible to deny. The spotlight on him is enormous. Every move is watched. Every word is analyzed. Every mistake is magnified. That pressure would break most people. Yet somehow, through all the noise, he kept competing. He kept improving. He kept leading. And he kept carrying expectations that would overwhelm many veteran stars. Maybe that's the biggest takeaway of all. Great athletes are still human beings. They make mistakes. They get frustrated. They feel pressure. They experience doubt. They celebrate. They cry. They grow. And sometimes the world forgets that. As fans, we should enjoy the competition, debate the controversies, and discuss the big moments. But we should also remember that behind every headline is a real person trying to navigate extraordinary circumstances. The Victor Wembanyama controversy may continue. New debates will emerge. New clips will go viral. New critics and supporters will appear. That's inevitable. But years from now, people probably won't remember every accusation. They'll remember the basketball, they'll remember the win, they'll remember the impact, and they'll remember whether this remarkable young player fulfilled the incredible promise that first captured the world's attention. Now it's your turn. After hearing the entire story, what's your verdict? If you believe Wembanyama has been unfairly targeted by internet narratives, comment 1. If you believe some of the criticism is justified and comes with being a superstar, comment 2. And if you think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, comment 3. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with fellow NBA fans, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next deep dive into the biggest stories, controversies, and drama from around the basketball world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.